Celebrities in a nutshell.
Bob Dylan, the poet laureate of rock and folk. Welcome to Celebrities in a Nutshell, where we explore the legends who shaped the world of music. Today, we're diving into the life, music, and legacy of one of the most influential songwriters of all time, Bob Dylan. With his poetic lyrics, ever-evolving sound, and deep connection to social and political movements, Bob Dylan redefined what it meant to be a musician, leaving an indelible mark on American culture. In this video, we'll take a journey through the key moments of Dylan's career, from his early days in Greenwich Village to his controversial shift to electric music, and his lasting influence on generations of artists and fans. So, let's get started and explore the world of Bob Dylan. Born Robert Allen Zimmerman on May 24, 1941, in Duluth, Minnesota, Bob Dylan grew up in a working-class Jewish family in a small town called Hibbing. As a teenager, Dylan was captivated by the music of pioneers like Hank Williams and Woody Guthrie, as well as the raw energy of early rock and roll artists like Elvis Presley and Little Richard. It was this combination of folk, blues, and rock that would go on to shape his unique sound. In 1961, at the age of 20, Dylan dropped out of the University of Minnesota and moved to New York City. He quickly immersed himself in the folk music scene of Greenwich Village, where he was inspired by legendary folk singers like Pete Seeger and Ramblin' Jack Elliott. But it was his admiration for Woody Guthrie, the Dust Bowl troubadour, that had the deepest influence on him. Dylan even visited Guthrie, who was suffering from Huntington's disease, in the hospital, and the meeting solidified his desire to follow in Guthrie's footsteps as a voice for the downtrodden. In 1962, Dylan released his self-titled debut album, but it was his second album, the freewheelin' Bob Dylan, released in 1963, that truly marked his arrival as a major voice in music. The album included songs that would become anthems of the civil rights and anti-war movements. Blowin' in the Wind asked questions about peace, freedom, and justice, while The Times They Are A-Changin' became a rallying cry for a generation demanding social change. The early 1960s were a time of political upheaval, and Dylan's music provided the soundtrack for the social movements of the era. His songs, often referred to as protest songs, were embraced by civil rights activists, anti-war demonstrators, and the counterculture. But Dylan himself resisted being labeled as a protest singer, insisting that his music was about much more than politics, it was about the human experience. By 1965, Dylan had already established himself as the voice of a generation, but he was never one to rest on his laurels. That summer, at the Newport Folk Festival, Dylan shocked the folk community by performing with an electric band. The audience, which had come to expect acoustic protest songs, was divided. Some cheered, while others booed. This moment, often referred to as the Going Electric controversy, marked a turning point in Dylan's career and in the history of music. Dylan's decision to embrace electric instruments wasn't just a musical shift, it was a declaration of independence. He was no longer just the voice of the folk revival. He was now an artist who refused to be pigeonholed. His 1965 album, Highway 61 Revisited, featured Like a Rolling Stone, a 6-minute single that shattered the conventions of pop music and became one of the most influential songs in rock history. Dylan's electrified sound fused rock, folk, and blues, and it opened the door for countless artists to experiment with genre and form. In the mid-1960s, Bob Dylan entered one of the most prolific and creative periods of his career. His trilogy of albums, Bringing It All Back Home, 1965, Highway 61 Revisited, 1965, and Blonde on Blonde, 1966, are widely regarded as some of the greatest albums in the history of popular music. These records saw Dylan blending surrealist imagery, stream-of-consciousness lyrics, and rock instrumentation, pushing the boundaries of songwriting to new heights. During his 1966 world tour, Dylan performed with an electric band, and the response was often hostile. Fans who had come to see the acoustic folk singer felt betrayed by his new sound. At a concert in Manchester, England, an audience member famously shouted "Judas," accusing Dylan of betraying the folk movement. But Dylan didn't back down, replying with a sneer and launching into a fiery version of Like a Rolling Stone. This defiance solidified his reputation as an artist who followed his own path, regardless of public opinion. In July 1966, at the height of his fame, Dylan's life took a dramatic turn when he was involved in a serious motorcycle accident near his home in Woodstock, New York. While the exact details of the crash remain somewhat mysterious, Dylan used the incident as an opportunity to withdraw from the public eye. For the next few years, Dylan retreated from the fast pace of the music industry, focusing on his family and recording music at a more relaxed pace. During this period, Dylan recorded a series of informal sessions with the band, known as the Basement Tapes, which would later become legendary. He also released albums like John Wesley Harding, 1967, and Nashville Skyline, 1969, which marked a return to a more stripped-down, country-influenced sound. Dylan's shift away from the chaotic energy of the mid-60s reflected his desire for simplicity and peace in a turbulent time. While Dylan himself often resisted the label of political artist, there's no denying the profound impact his music had on the social and political movements of the 1960s and beyond. His songs became anthems for the civil rights movement, the anti-war protests, and the counterculture. Songs like Masters of War, A Hard Rain's A-Gonna Fall, and The Times They Are A-Changin' captured the anxiety, hope, and defiance of a generation grappling with issues of war, racism, and social justice. Dylan's music wasn't just a reflection of the times, it helped shape them. His lyrics spoke to the frustrations and aspirations of young people who were demanding change, and his influence extended far beyond music into the realms of literature, art, and activism. In 1971, Dylan performed at George Harrison's Concert for Bangladesh, one of the first large-scale benefit concerts, further cementing his role as a voice for humanitarian causes. By the 1980s, Dylan's music had evolved yet again, incorporating elements of gospel, blues, and even Christian themes. While some critics were unsure of his new direction, Dylan continued to release critically acclaimed albums, including Oh Mercy, 1989, and Time Out of Mind, 1997, the latter of which won the Grammy Award for Album of the Year. Since 1988, Dylan has been on what's known as the Never-Ending Tour, playing hundreds of shows around the world each year. His live performances remain unpredictable, often reinterpreting his classic songs in new ways, and his commitment to performing has solidified his status as one of the greatest live musicians of all time. Bob Dylan's influence on music and culture cannot be overstated. His groundbreaking approach to songwriting, his refusal to conform to industry standards, and his ability to constantly reinvent himself have inspired countless artists across genres. From Bruce Springsteen to the Beatles, from Joni Mitchell to Patti Smith, Dylan's fingerprints are all over the music of the last 6 decades. In 2016, Dylan was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature, becoming the first musician to receive the prestigious honor. The Swedish Academy recognized him for having created new poetic expressions within the great American song tradition. It was a fitting tribute to an artist who has spent his life pushing the boundaries of what music and poetry can accomplish. Bob Dylan isn't just a musician, he's a cultural icon. His songs have become part of the fabric of American life, and his influence extends far beyond the world of music. Dylan's legacy is one of constant evolution, of challenging the status quo, and of reminding us that music can change the world. As long as people are searching for truth, beauty, and meaning, Bob Dylan's music will continue to resonate. Thank you for joining us in celebrating the life and legacy of Bob Dylan. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more explorations of influential figures in music and culture. Let us know your favorite Bob Dylan songs or albums in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious and keep the music alive.